Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and Wargaming managed to sneak in a test server just as I was going down to Tankfest. It is 9.15.1, which I believe marks the first time that Wargaming have ever tested a mid-patch, so to say. So while this test server is slightly light on content, I've tested out all of the features to see what's coming up for the next patch of World of Tanks. So as Wargaming recently changed their sound engine to be W-wise, that means they're continuing to make a lot of improvements to the sounds in World of Tanks. Firstly, Wargaming have implemented a feature that makes getting hit by artillery just that little bit more special. Now you can tell when an artillery has narrowly missed you, such as this, compared to when an artillery directly hits you, such as this. The sound is just so much more meaty when you take that direct hit, and it really feels like your tank is continuing to vibrate. One absolutely bizarre feature is that now, when one of your friendly vehicles gets knocked out, you can hear his radio ceasing to operate. Now, I don't know what you guys think, but I'm always looking near the map, and whenever I see above the map red text, that generally means that one of my allies has died. Whenever I see green text, that means that one of my allies has managed to kill a vehicle. So I don't really see the point of this audio tell. But then again, I guess for those of you who are driving around on some horrible resolution and aren't even using the minimap, yeah, I guess it could be very useful to figure out when your team are getting absolutely hammered, and hopefully you aren't going to hear this sound too much. One thing I was unable to get to work myself, however, was the 3D positioning of the sound of spotting enemy vehicles. No matter what options I toggled in the sound option, no sound appeared when I spotted enemy vehicles. I'm not sure if this was a bug for me, or if this is maybe an issue with the second iteration of the test server. Apparently, Wargaming have also reworked the sound of tracks, accentuated the sound of tracks for vehicles with high-powered gasoline engines. But I don't know what you guys think, but I can't really hear that much of a difference. Wargaming have also apparently implemented a sound preset for laptops, and this preset adapts the sound scheme for playback on internal laptop speakers at the highest quality possible. So if you're still playing on a trackpad out there, then it should sound even better for you in the next patch. There is also a new bass boost sound option. Let's hear, firstly, with it off against the biggest gun in the game. Now let's turn it on. If you're a fan of Wargaming's personal reserve system, the next patch you've got something to look forward to. Now you will be able to purchase personal reserves in-game for gold currency. The best one that I can personally see that's available is the 100% crew experience per battle for 2 hours, which will set you back 50 gold each. Previously, these personal reserves were only available for completing missions, or if you wanted to buy big bundles of them from the premium store. And while there's certainly nothing wrong with players being able to purchase perks with a wider variety of currencies, it does make me wonder if Wargaming are going to be pushing these personal reserves even harder than they have already. But with these personal reserves, which are effectively just a super premium account that works on top of it, costing about 25p an hour, one has got to ask, how far will Wargaming push the boundaries? Now on to the technical tasks Wargaming are presenting for the 9.15.1 test server. Apparently they have reworked the effect of vehicles side scraping. In brackets, the effects are now less annoying and more realistic. And one thing I do feel on the test server now is it just feels like the tank is so much less sticky on the corners. I'm not sure if you guys have noticed that in the last few patches, that it's really annoying trying to push around a corner and it just feels awkward. And so, yeah, I do think that they've done a great job. I'm not sure if this is indeed more realistic. I am not an actual real-life tank driver, but one thing that I do feel for certain is that it just feels a lot more comfortable in-game. You're not going to get yourself stuck on the corners, and that's a great thing for great side scrapers, such as the VK4502B. According to Wargame, they have optimized a number of performance aspects. Well, that is pretty vague, but I don't know about you guys, but the last few patches of World of Tanks have just brought incredible performance boosts to my game, at least for my computer. which is a quad core, and I think a lot of that has come from moving to DirectX 11 and also moving the whole of the sound engine with WYs from, I think, the main core and then spreading it over multiple core processors. The entire battle interface has also been rewritten in ActionScript 3, which is an object-oriented programming language originally developed by Macromedia Inc. and now it's Adobe Systems. In-game, everything looks pretty much the same, but there is one really annoying aspect to this for me, and that's that the minimap no longer has that, at least for me, preferable differentiation between this being too large and this being too small. And also I expect moving to ActionScript 3 is going to break every single modification that is in World of Tanks and probably require an entire rewrite. So if you're a heavy mod user, then probably 9.15.1 isn't going to be your favorite patch. Only one vehicle is having its statistics changed in 9.15.1, and that is the ISU-130, which is a rather rare Tier 8 Soviet tank destroyer that was only given to moderators and wargaming volunteers. But if you are lucky enough to have an ISU-130, it is getting dramatic buffs. Dispersion on the move decreased by 40%, dispersion while turning the hull decreased by 40%, reverse speed increased from 12 to 14, its top speed is being increased by 34 to 38 when going forwards, its view range is being buffed dramatically by 30 meters, its aim time is being buffed by 0.4 seconds, and its reload time has been changed from 12 seconds to 10.3, which is a huge rate of fire buff. And in addition, the accuracy of the tank is being improved from 0.4 to 0.37, making it sound like this could be a rather formidable Soviet tank destroyer. One of the main changes of 9.15.1 is the fact that the Lorraine 40T is being replaced by the Batchat 25T AP. Now, I've done a full preview on this tank, including some awesome gameplay, so if you want to see that to find out what is happening to perhaps your beloved Lorraine, then simply click through up here or use that more info icon in the top right hand corner of your screen. Next, we have a gigantic list of 24 vehicles that are being reworked into HD quality. Here is the MT25, the Tier 10 German self-propelled gun, the GWE 100 looks certainly a lot different in HD. The little bastard of a tank that is the FV304, certainly a low tier favorite, the Hetzer. All you premium German tank destroyers will be happy that the Dickermax is now in HD. In addition, one of the most played vehicles in the game, the Panzer III, and also one of my favorite vehicles at tier 9, the E75. The Waffenträger auf Panzerwehr is also looking better than ever. The first Soviet tank destroyer that a new player will get his hands on, the AT-1. Even the hipsters that like the AMX 1375 should be happy with their new HD vehicle. A vehicle which I popularized about 4 to 5 years ago is looking boxier than ever, guys. As well as the SU-100M1, and one of the most brutal heavy tanks that you will ever get your hands on, the T57 Heavy. I think this vehicle looks awesome in HD. Even the masochists out there will be happy that the Großtraktor is going to be HD. As well as the M37, the Tier 10 Chinese heavy tank, the 113, as well as the Tier 10 Chinese medium tank, the 121, the always filthy GW Tiger Pig, as well as the M22 Locust. Thank you so much, M4, this was a horrible accident. Even the biggest gun on any tank in the game, the FV215B, is going to look prettier than ever, firing those filthy premium rounds. StatPad has rejoiced that you're going to look better than ever clubbing in your M8A1. Even the T34-1 is getting a new lick of paint, in addition to the Rheinmetall Borsig Waffenträger. And finally, the GW Panther has never quite looked as much like the Alien Queen as it does in patch 9.15.1. There are also some vehicles that were HD that are getting some changes in their model, so if you're a Tortoise driver, you're going to have to take a look to see what they've done to the highest DPM tank in the game, as well as the always faithful M103. And why does that mantlet look completely new to me? And always a fan favorite, the Hellcat is showing off some new looks. And finally, the heaviest tank in the game, the Mouse, has a few new features for the eagle-eyed of you. Wargaming seemed to be addressing the very roots of World of Tanks by remaking the mini-maps of Prokhorovka, Ensk, El Haluf, and also for Cliff, which they haven't mentioned on the website. Here we can see the Prokhorovka mini-map that all of you will know, and here is their new look for Prokhorovka. So there are some key design changes here. This is basically just a bird's eye view of the map if you were to go above in a third-person camera. I think the ideology between the new designs is that they don't really want to just have a bird's eye view of the battlefield. They want to highlight the key features that influence the way that the maps play out. Here we can see emphasis put on the ridge lines to give players an idea that if they push over the central barrier of Prokhorovka, that they might be able to hide from the left or from the right. And also the buildings here are just so much more prominent. Previously they look like they might be bushes or trees. Now they are very clearly buildings and marked out so you can plan ahead. And furthermore, the water features on this map are very clear compared to how they were previously. This is just an overall key improvement that should help newer, less experienced players to quickly establish the maps without physically having to go and explore every inch of them. Here we can see that Wargaming has done the same for El Haluf, which highlights the rocky outcrops that provide you cover from the other side of the map. And it's the same here on Cliff. I feel like all of the edges of the impassable areas have been highlighted, and previously it might not be obvious to a player that you can actually go up on the lighthouse. Now the routes to get up there are clearly mapped for you. And finally on Ensk, by getting rid of the idea that it has to be an aerial photograph, we can clearly see the defined outlines of the buildings and which streets are passable and where you can get cover, for example, from artillery or some sneaky tank destroyers. Also previously there was absolutely no indication of where there were gaps within the train tracks, so you could try and make sneaky ways through. And so again, this is far clearer and should allow you to plan ahead, irrelevant if you've played the map a few times or several thousand times. One thing that puzzles me is that for the first iteration of the test server, Wargaming also released a non-damaged version of the Paris map. But on the second iteration of the test server, the Paris map was no longer available. Now I asked some of the community coordinators at Wargaming if they had any details on why the Paris map was only available for the first iteration of the test server and whether we would get to see it in 9.15.1, and their answer was that they're not sure yet. They got to see how the testing goes, and if it's positive, then we might be seeing Paris as a brand new playable map in the random mode next patch. And so that about covers everything that I was able to find out about the 9.15.1 test server. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, or maybe it was just useful to you. If it was, please consider giving it a like down below. It really helps the channel out. And let me know down below if you guys have got any comments related to what you've seen. As always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.